Good afternoon. I'm calling this meeting of the Green Bay Zoning and Planning Board of Appeals to order. Roll call, Noel here, Barb.
Here.
Stephen.
Here.
Corey. Joshua.
Here.
Benjamin.
I've heard.
Oh, we do have a quorum. Approval of the agenda for today's meeting.
Move to approve.
Second.
Got a motion and a second to approve. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, motion carries. Approval of the minutes from the June 24th meeting.
So moved. Seconded.
A motion and a second for approving the minutes of the June 24th meeting. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, motion carried. On to regular order of business. The Zoning and Planning Board of Appeals hears and acts on appeals for variances from city zoning code requirements. Members of the board are appointed and the board acts as a quasi judicial body during these appeals, which means that appeals are presented kind of like the case is presented in court, and the board acts as judge and determines whether to grant the appeal by majority vote. For each item, we will hear from both the applicant, that's you folks in the audience, and staff, as well as any additional witnesses where appropriate. If you are the petitioner or applicant for an item on tonight's agenda, please come and take a seat at the table when your item is called. And so our first item of business is consideration with possible action on a variance request from Christina Capo of Fox City Sign, the applicant, and Gadrud Ivan Chevrolet Incorporated, property owner, requesting to exceed monument sign standards at 1001 Olive Plaza Drive. Now, just so everybody understands, it's the goal of the Board of Appeals to provide and conduct a hearing that is fair in form, appearance, and substance to ensure that this hearing satisfies these goals. Excuse me, each member of the Board of Appeals, please confirm the following for this appeal by stating I confirm. I do not have a conflict of interest in this matter.
I confirm.
I confirm. I can't confirm and will recuse.
I confirm. I have not received any communication from any person or party about this matter.
I confirm.
I confirm.
I confirm. All right. And then did you say we have a conflict?
I have a conflict.
Okay. For recusal, do we need to ask him to leave the room, or can he just sit here and not talk?
I'd say just consider, just can't make any sort of acknowledgement to this.
Yeah, no making faces. or
Yeah,
anything.
yeah.
I'll try.
I promise I'll be almost as well behaved as a church mouse.
All right. Thank you. All right, so for this item, we'll hear from staff first. John, do you swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give will be the truth?
I do. And Christina, and anybody who's speaking, if you could go in front of that tablet there, that's to your right. The reason why is the speaker that you're hearing online that's recorded is closer to there, and it's just harder to hear sometimes.
Got it.
Further away. Okay, what is at play here is a request of having a monument sign at a commercial property that exceeds 6 feet in height. So the applicant is seeking to place what is classified as a monument sign to be 25 feet tall. So it is at Gadrud Chevy. It's for the Nissan portion of the overall property. And they're looking to put up some Nissan branding. This is the existing facility and the existing sign. So that sign right there is a pylon sign. What makes it a pylon sign compared to a monument sign? A monument sign means 3/4 of the base itself is on the ground. And a pylon sign has things to hold up the sign, the top of the sign. I'm actually gonna go through to our definitions here. So monument sign means a type of freestanding sign where at least 3/4 of the horizontal length of the sign is permanently fixed to the ground to a decorative base, and the full length, horizontal length, which is anchored to the ground. Whereas the pylon sign means freestanding sign. So think of things like you typically see more in a commercial corridor for car-centric places. So when it comes to pylon signs, you have to have a minimum of a 10-foot underclearance on those signs, to where the max height on those signs would be 30 feet in height. But you have to have a clearance underneath the sign of at least 10 feet, of which you can still have the pylon holding the sign, but there's 10 feet clearance underneath that sign. So what's at play here is this would be an example of a pylon sign. There's that gap underneath that goes over 10 feet from the bottom of the ground to where the sign begins. It's less than 30 feet tall, all good. They want to replace it with a new updated image. With that, the sign itself doesn't have that pylon feature anymore. Now it's just an upright monument feature. Essentially, this would be legal if you just happen to have a little gap in here to have for the pylons, but it doesn't. It's one solid base. That said, applicant showed a few examples of other places in the state where this branding has happened to where it's 25-foot tall signs that happen to be one solid structure, such as Berkshire, Appleton, Oshkosh, Kenosha. This is their corporate identity they're trying to go for with this updated signage. Applicant also noted a few other signage where the monument signage is taller than 6 feet tall. I want to note that this is a freestanding sign that's a pylon. This is a monument sign, both at NWTC and UWGB, but those receive what are called planning developments for their signage specifically because they're larger campuses. They had an extensive signage request, and part of that was to put up some larger signboards on their property that exceeded requirements, and because it was a PUD, it was granted, allowed. So what you're looking at is both one, this question of can it go and exceed 25 feet in height, and two, this is where you can question the role of ZA as far as how we're interpreting this. If you feel like, hey, that what our interpretation of the code, as far as what a monument sign is and the intent, you can say that you feel like this is appropriate to classify as a pylon sign. So note that in your discussions that that question came up, but from the view of strictly looking at the code itself and applying it, this goes up beyond that 6-foot threshold.
Please, yeah.
So why is there a difference between those two types of signs? It's such a significant 6 feet to.
Right, so typically speaking, looking at it this way with the monument sign now, I can note that when it comes to, there's two parts to this. The sign itself, where the actual branding is above that 10-foot threshold, and the rest of this, while it's, you know, a corporate identity, we're having this, they all have the same similar type of look down below. You could, in theory, keep on putting more branding that would go up into the sky from ground to 25 feet in the air of having signage. And the code doesn't want to have that to where it's just cluttered with a large sign. The code, I believe the intent, has the pylon holding a sign on top or having a base that holds a sign on top.
You don't have a bunch of signs.
Yes, you don't have just.
That I know,
Right.
I get it.
Secondly,
Okay.
if we're talking about pylon signs that 10-foot under clearance, and typically they're located on places that happen to have automobile activity, that 10-foot there in a way is a opportunity to go see on the ground level, to see through at oncoming pedestrians or things that might interrupt your traffic flow. Not really necessarily for the person who's driving on the road, but for driving, things of that sort, to where maybe somebody's on the back side of that sign. A pylon shouldn't necessarily inhibit somebody seeing behind that. If you have a monument sign and it goes straight up in the air 10 feet, you don't have that clearance to see beyond that that area in the ground.
So there's a danger to having a sign like that?
Potentially, but that's the idea behind it, is to not have, at 6 feet tall, you max out your size of your monument sign at 6 feet tall. Theoretically, you could see above that with, say, the top of a human or a vehicle that's passing by that. So there's your top of your monument sign. All that said, I will note, on this sign here, they're asking for it to be 7 foot, 9 foot, 3 inches wide. If they happen to have this pylon just stick out and where it wasn't 3/4 of the way, say it was 5 foot 9 inches, it wouldn't be 3/4 then. It'd be a total legal sign, be fine, you could do it. Or they could have a sign that's wider. This is just going based off the code, it's numbers, it's ratios. You have to have 3/4 of the sign on the ground to call it as a monument sign, okay? So if you happen to have, say, a 5 foot wide base, but then on top of it, you put up a 10-foot sign on top of that base, it's legal, total legal, you can do that. So. There's no flexibility when it comes to this one right here. It's all one solid base.
Can I ask a quick question or is it not time?
Pretty soon.
Sure,
Yeah,
sure.
right.
Other questions for staff? From the board?
Have we seen a lot of this kind of across the line?
Of this, I'd say people who are trying to find creative ways to make more of these type of signs, yes, it has happened. I can give you, for instance, we allowed one that it was more of a just vertical narrow sign. But the overall width of it was like 2'5" and we went, well, that's like a pylon sign in its own right. So we allowed it to happen because that's a typical size for a pylon base. But this is just, this is wider, so that's where we're taking it to this step here.
So if there were a notch in the middle of this, it would be legal.
As long as it didn't take up more, yeah, as long as the base didn't take up more than 3/4 of the overall width in the ground, so. With that, that's about 6 feet here, so if there's a
So-
notch that was about 1'10" in this, it'd be a legal sign, yes.
All the way up,
To at least 10 feet,
10.
yeah, because that gets you clearance and now it'd be a pylon sign. So it'd be allowed. I'm gonna go back to this. This statement, so monument sign being a freestanding sign where at least 3/4 of the horizontal length of the sign is permanently fixed to the ground. So,
You had said that, reducing one dimension earlier would have fixed it.
if you I'll just go for instance on this sign, I get they're trying to go for a look here that's just the uniform look. If for some reason, if the 3/4 length was 7'9" and you went and made this, say. I'm doing the quick math here, 10'5" or so
Mhm.
on the top. You've now achieved that because you're now past the 3/4 requirements. Or if you did the inverse here and you took off a chunk here, you've now achieved it then too.
Can you go back to the definitions, John? I'm struggling to read. I'm struggling to read the pylon sign as not describing what picture you're showing us there, because that is a freestanding sign on a post or a wall or a pier. That's solidly affixed to the ground and not attached to a building.
Yep,
I mean, I can read that as defining that sign, even though I know you're thinking it's a different.
right, and if you feel it's that way, we will take, that's how this will go. That's why I wanted to bring up this to you as far as interpretation goes.
But doesn't the pylon sign also say that there has to be a 10-foot gap?
It says there has to be a clearance of 10 feet from where the sign actually begins.
So that's not on that definition, so you have to put that into account, okay?
Yeah, that's in the bulk requirements part of it, so you're stating 30 feet in height. It gives you the requirements as far as overall signage for certain districts being typically 200 square feet, things of that sort. But that's one of the notes, 10-foot clearance. And that we do deal with on a pretty routine basis where people are trying to kind of skim that around and go a little bit lower. We say, no, it has to be at 10 feet.
All right, any other questions for staff? All right, let's hear from the petitioner, please, you, Christina.
I am.
Hi, welcome. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth?
Yes.
Please proceed.
So I'm Christina Capo with Fox City Sign. I'm representing Gertrude here, and I think we have a pretty good explanation from John of what we're looking for and what we're asking for. I guess one of my main points is what the city has in their code is not really the definition of a monument versus a pylon is not really what the sign industry defines as a monument to a pylon. So that's a little tricky for us because normally a pylon in our industry is a sign that's taller than 10 to 15 feet and a base that's 8 feet. So what I normally am presenting is this is a pylon sign to most of us in the industry. So it's a little different. I'm not sure where the city came up with their definitions. I think another point is when you were saying, like, if we put a notch in the middle, you're calling this a 2-pole sign, I believe, is a pylon that would get approved, but we in the industry just call this a pole cover. So I'm not really sure that we really call this a base, so one of my questions was, so if you take off all the silver pole cover and you just have a pole, would it then be?
Right, as
considered
long as it
pylon?
wasn't 3/4 of the overall base, like when we process the sign permits. As far as what we'll consider to be the actual signage,
Mhm.
it's just gonna be this red part up here, the 7 foot 9 inches by 8, we're not gonna count the entire overall. Base on that, now, that said, hypothetically. Somebody could come in and just put some. Nylon on there and put in more signage on that, and thus you've now eliminated what. The whole point of a pylon sign is, and now you've made this into one large monument sign. I'm not suggesting the applicant's trying to do this here at all. But. As far as why there was an intent in the past as to why this became this way. I think those two reasons, both the visual behind the sign and the potential for somebody just adding on more and more signage without the city knowing about it. Is part of the issue.
Yes, and I would agree with, I can't say what the owner is gonna wanna do 10 or 15 years from now, but. You can see it, many dealerships and Nissan for years has just been this Nissan existing pylon that they have, and they don't add on to it. It's just Gandry Nissan at that location, so I don't see that as a possibility. I know someone had a question is this sign safe? And I think you have on one of your images there, the existing, and that curved road. And you were talking about. You know, maybe it's a hazard for somebody who's leaving the driveway, I think is what you were maybe saying, that you wouldn't be able to see. I was a little unsure of what you were saying would be the hazard, because. I
Right.
guess I just don't see that on this
I
curve.
think he was
that it's
speaking,
intended.
I think he was speaking theoretically to
Yeah.
what it could be
Sure,
with that one set back. I don't think it's that big.
Because it's not in the line.
Yeah.
right,
So,
right,
that's what-
yep, and so I just wanted to point
Thank you.
that out as well, like, it's not in this line of sight of. Making that curve that you wouldn't be able to see a car coming from either direction. Gandrid would like to just continue the brand that's going on throughout the whole United States. Obviously, a lot of time and money has been put into their rebranding. And you've seen it, some examples at some of their other locations. It hasn't been a problem, but I understand if that's what it would take is for us to put a 1 foot notch in the middle, or I think probably more ideal is what you were discussing is. Enlarging the red Nissan to 10 feet approximately, so we would hit that 3/4, which. Is possible, it makes the entire sign taller even, and it's more of an expense for them, but. It obviously is a possibility to go larger if needed.
Questions for the applicant? All right, we'll deliberate and make a decision here.
All right, thank you for your time.
Go ahead, John.
I'm gonna just note one thing as far as I think the intent of the code as far as what it meant for. But I don't think it's necessarily applicable in this case, but if you happen to have a right of way where the curb gets pretty close to the actual property line. And you happen to have a larger sign to where. You're getting closer in the vision triangle or a vision cube for people, I think that's where the monument signage and not having that visual clearance there makes more of a difference. And because the code is broad and is trying to account for things of that sort. Different situations, different parcels may have different situations when it comes to.
So in this particular parcel, it doesn't seem like it would cause.
No, when I look at this, the first thing I see is what is the vision triangle? And the vision triangle is based off of an XY, Y being how far it goes along the curb, the actual curb itself.
Mhm.
And then X being how far it goes into the driveway, and it's beyond the 15 feet on this parcel.
Okay.
Yeah, any car that's leaving that driveway has got
Is that
plenty of visibility up and down the street.
Yeah.
before they enter The street.
But, you know, it doesn't necessarily apply to all properties, though. There are issues where.
Right, and they were trying to cover it in the ordinance.
I'll be honest, unfortunately, I can't see a reason to circumvent the city code for this. I don't. They've got a solution to fix it. The only problem here is that Nissan corporate has decided that they don't like that sign that size. We're not allowed to take economic considerations into case, so however extra money it costs. That's not our problem or fault. And we can't take it into consideration. Um. This is a matter of a very small change to their sign, so that we can uphold the code as it is. I think the city council should address the code, the planning commission, whichever group does that. I think that's maybe a good idea in the future if this is a trend in signing. But how the sign industry handles things and how anything else does, the elected representatives of the city of Green Bay decided that this should be this way. And I'm a lot less inclined to hand out, exceptions. When the solution to be within code is simple and easy to get to. I can't get past most of our 5. I'll be honest with you, I'm not even particularly willing to try. This just seems like change the sign, it's fixed, you're not.
Other comments, feedback?
I think it's a really kind of a confusing ordinance. I don't see a detriment, so I mean, I can answer number 4. I don't see a detriment. Pretty detriment, say yes to number 4. But it is I just, on number 5, I don't know how to say it's not a self-imposed.
Or even number 2, there's no exceptional
Exceptional
circumstances.
circumstances. No, I understand if they're wanting to keep the signs consistent across this, the United States, whatever, but. The problem is I can't answer the questions, yes. I can't, but,
Yeah, I mean, I think the preservation of intent is, variance wouldn't be inconsistent with the regulations for long signs. I don't know, exceptional circumstances, but we also say unusual circumstances or conditions. I think, it's some level of difference in interpretation of the nomenclature regarding sign types. I hear that there is, that's an unusual circumstance. This is 2 metal poles holding up this sign inside of an aluminum shell or something like that. That's more of a skirt than, an actual sign. I think, that difference in understanding and language is an unusual circumstance. And I also do think that it might be something that Plan Commission code would want to look at some point. I think the whole monument sign approach in the city is probably related to the East Town Mall property right near here. That's where it seemed to start, and this was kind of related to that back in the day. But preservation of proper rights, absence of detriment, that's already been covered. The hardship here is that you're trying to be consistent in the presentation of your brand, I think, across your footprint. And that's difficult in this case with a sign. I know, Stephen suggested some ways of dealing with this. If this were to go with an approval motion, I would have considered suggesting to the folks that we add a stipulation that no additional copy of any sort of would be put on the portion below the Nissan logo. But I don't know if we're there, so I guess having us all expressed our position on this, I'd entertain a motion one way or the other on this.
I move to deny the application of the.
before I second it, I want to clarify. Were you able to answer yes to all of them?
It may not be the strongest arguments that I've ever made, but yeah, I think unusual circumstances covered me on number 2, but it certainly didn't feel extraordinary in any sense.
I also think that you have to keep in mind that while Nissan wants to keep its branding consistent across, I defy you to tell the difference between that sign and one 60 miles away. I mean, you can't even see that sign anywhere but on all of us drive. I know that because my wife has a Nissan, I go there. It's, yeah, I don't know that from a marketing standpoint or a competitive standpoint, that's. You know, really cool.
All right, we've got a motion on the floor. Is there a second? Going once, going twice. Right, motion fails for lack of a second. Is there another motion that somebody would care to make?
I'd like to make a motion to approve with the condition that no other copy or signage, whatever, you know, could ever be placed. I've made that motion.
All right, we've got a motion. Is there a second? I can second that motion. I'll second the motion. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye. Aye, opposed.
Nay,
Motion passes 2-1. We got the variances requested. Oh, with the stipulation of no additional signage on that skirt.
Thank you.
Thank you.
well, we said we will pay additional sign is not like it. It's a, any sign, right? You know, it's a different sign.
Right, but we made that a condition.
All right, item 2, appeal 24-22, consideration with possible action on the tax request from Yanely Corona, property owner and applicant Mike Hodges, if I mispronounced that name, requesting to exceed alley driveway standards in a rear yard for a single family home at 121 South Quincy Street. And as I noted earlier, it's our goal to provide and conduct a hearing that's fair in form, appearance, and substance. So if you could, please confirm the following for this item. I do not have a conflict of interest in this matter.
I confirm.
I confirm.
I confirm.
I confirm. I have not received any communication from any party or person about this matter.
I confirm.
I confirm.
I confirm.
I confirm. Great. And as with other items, we'll hear from our staff first. So John, do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth?
I do.
Please proceed.
And this is District 7 Older Product. So what is happening here is a request to have a driveway that comes off of the alley that goes up to 80 feet in depth. So the code in 44-1746, paragraph G is the driveway may extend to the garage opening or may extend into the lots for 30 feet in width and 40 feet in depth, but shall not extend into the side yard setback. The only part of this is the 40 foot in depth that's required of this request. So this is the property. It's an inverse flag lot. The house itself is facing off to Quincy. You'll note there is no driveway entrance to the property itself. It is a single family home. There is entry into the property through the rear yard. Through the alley, that's back that way. However, there were complaints about the state of the driveway, so there were some orders given to repair, because right now the driveway in the back is a state of a bunch of gravel and dirt in the back, so they have to put in pavement back that way. So we reviewed the applicant different options as far as what can be done. So legally, the applicant can put in an 8-foot wide drive in the back of the alley itself and go up to 40 feet in depth. That get you 2 stalls back that way for the single family home. They are looking to push this to go up to about 80 feet in depth. So as we're reviewing this, we're looking at what are some issues that come into play with this. You'll see this 10. This entire area is 10 feet in width. That's it. Now, that's a narrow lot. So for a driveway on a narrow lot, you can place it within 1 foot of each setback. So with an 8-foot wide driveway, 1 + 1, there is sufficient space. Additionally, the zoning administrator has the power to allow for driveway to go smack dab on the property line. If there's extenuating circumstances, i.e. In this case, the potential for, say, stormwater runoff on the properties. So there could be a requirement to put it, or if they request to place on the property line, to say, yes, it's fine, you can place the driveway right on the property line, and then they give you some extra width to allow for dealing with stormwater runoff, things of that sort. Third thing would be impervious surface. This is an office residential lot. It's a 60% maximum of impervious surface. Even with this request 80 feet, because what the applicant has shown in their application, they would take this area that is dirt and gravel and turn it into grass. They would meet the impervious surface on this property. So they're just asking for one request. They're asking to go from 40 to 80 feet on this property. So this is the property itself, okay? This is the neighboring property. Currently, there is an ingress egress agreement between both properties that allows for vehicles that could run down this driveway and then go back up onto that property. So come on in this way, go back up here. But the problem is this area is gravel and dirt and has to be transformed in some way. The suggestion that's been offered by the applicant to get 2 stalls is to go, well, in their case, 4 stalls, because they're asking for idiots to come off the alley and not use this area over here anymore. That gets the impervious surface numbers into check, and they're utilizing the alleyways. So they wouldn't use this ingress egress to go over this property into the future. They're asking to place this line to go 80 feet. So let's go to the site plan that was shown here. So this is the alley. They want to put in approximately 60 feet of pavement that will go to the alley. There is a 20 by 8 foot small existing piece of concrete that is hard to see on these photos, but it is there. That exists back this way. That would be the western edge of what they're trying to propose. These photos might go a bit here. You can see it now. It goes on the other property, but this is the 8 feet in depth, 8 feet in width, 20 feet in depth. That's on the edge of the property, and they want to go 60 feet out this way, back towards the alleyway. And then back to the rear of this, you would see grass being planted where there's currently gravel and dirt. This is the view from the alley looking back out towards the house itself, and you can see the condition. It's beyond repair. You can have gravel driveways as long as they are maintained, but this is past the point of maintenance. It has to get into compliance to be a paved driveway. I will note, and you happen to see it here in your packet itself, there was some discussion from neighbors about this. And one of the things they did bring up was that the elevation out here, you can kind of see this to where this is a bit higher than back out this way. And with the alley drive itself, there is nowhere for the water to really go. The water, this area here is slightly, I'm thinking a few inches higher than it is back over towards the road. The road over on Quincy is where the stormwater is at. The alley doesn't have any sort of sewers with it at all. So it's something to keep in mind. But that's the one and only request of this that is the variance. It's going beyond 40 to a length of 80 feet. All the rest of this would be in compliance. Houses should have garages, but this is a grandfather case here. It's like, the garage, and frankly, there is no room on this to post a garage on this property anyway. You'd be within the setbacks and you come back for more variances as well if it's even physically possible to do that type of thing.
So that driveway, is that an easement or is that
Yeah.
actually part of the property?
No, this is part of the property. This goes back to, this is their property, 10 feet. 80 feet's around right here, so. Okay. And
The driveway at 123 is an easement. though.
correct.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I meant all the way back to the alley. I actually meant on the other side. It's weird to have a big chunk of land just hanging out like that.
Oh, yeah.
Is it really an alley or is
This
it?
is an alley back this way, yes. Yep.
Who owns the alley?
It's public right away. That's,
Okay,
it's-
show me which part is the alley, which
No
part is.
problem.
Okay, I'm getting confused.
so this is,
Okay.
the driveway itself is gonna be this part. The alley, so you're seeing here Wellspring back over in this area.
Yeah.
There's an alley that keeps on going back to the south, down this
Well,
way.
that's the.
That's the alley.
But the whole
Yeah.
long thing is the driveway.
This is their backyard.
Hmm.
And so they're asking for a driveway to extend from here to the alley. 80 feet back this way.
It already is a driveway because it's gravel. right?
Well, it's gravel, but it has to be replaced.
Right, but I mean, it's been used as a driveway all this.
Correct.
And they just have, because it's beyond repair, now they have to pave it, now they have to come within.
Yeah.
Now you have to be the code standard, which would cap this at being 40 feet in depth for an alley. Or access off an alley unless you're leading to a garage, which if you look at that block 2 also exists, there are places that lead to a
So
garage.
a further question,
Yeah,
so you almost have to do it all because that's all in disrepair. I mean,
no, you don't have to.
what could you do?
You can cap it at 40 feet and then put grass on there. You would get your 2 parking stalls on the property.
And
2
then-
stalls are
so then
required,
the rest would be up to the, you couldn't get near the house.
Right.
You're quite far away from.
yes.
the home.
But they could put a sidewalk in.
Yeah, there should be enough surface area as far as the impervious to get a sidewalk, yeah.
I mean, it's not a great idea, but. So, one of the questions I have is looking at that driveway. Right now you could come in the front or the back. And the idea is to fill that area in with grass. So that that isn't happening anymore. Does staff any concerns about? That actually happening that way, because the way that that driveway is, if you have more than, 2 cars. Getting in and out of there is gonna be, if you're in the first car, you're gonna need to move 2, maybe 3 cars to get in and out. And it's gonna become real easy to drive across grass. I would do it, I mean, I'm not proud.
No. I hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
I'm looking based at the code. The code states you gotta have 2 stalls. And we do talk with folks on this board plenty of times to where if you have to play the game of moving cars in and out on narrow lots, that's how your lot is, you have to deal with that.
Okay,
I do understand that that could be cause for concern. That even if you put the grass in, as you're saying, that somebody, especially given the nature of how these 2 properties have been used in the past. That somebody could feel that they could do that because it happened in the past. But we're not dictating based on that.
yeah, fair enough.
Any other questions for staff? All right, let's hear from our petitioner. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth?
Yes, sir.
Please proceed.
Thank you for your time. My name is Yaneli Corona, and I'm glad that you asked the question about the 2 spots. This property is I'm the landlord of the property, so it's actually a rental. I'd like to also point out that it is a 4-bedroom rental. So the house is a large home. It's a 4-bedroom, it's a nice family that lives there, and they all have different schedules, as you can understand. You have different work schedules, different hectic schedules, kids go to school, different shifts in working. So to just have only 2 spots, especially in a 4-bedroom house that is meant to be rented, I feel like it limits the ability of them being able to park as they should, because there is just no space for that. I also want to touch base with what we said about the stormwater situation. If approved, I would take it upon myself to talk to the contractor and to make sure that we come up with the best plan to be able to have that water. What I was thinking of was doing 1 foot grass, 8 foot pavement, 1 foot grass. But in thinking of the stormwater, I was thinking another option would be to leave the 2 feet that are attached to the back that goes, that attaches to the backyard of the neighboring home. Where, we would be able to leave that the stormwater could go if that was an issue. This home was purchased with the purpose of it being a rental property. And the parking space I feel is very unique. And there is, right now, it's very limited and there's just not enough space for them. And most people do need multiple vehicles for, transportation is a necessity. You need to be able to move in and out. So that is why I'm here to ask for this. And I also would not like to not be able to rent to people, if it's, if someone's taking a look at the property, not just for the current family that's there right now who is struggling because of this, but just in the future, having tenants that would apply. that if they have more than 2 cars, they just wouldn't be able to live there. I feel like that would be an unfair thing. You know, this has also, like she had asked, it's been used this way for a long time. I recently took over the property, but it has been like this for many, many years. And I understand that it wasn't an issue at that point, whatever the case may be. But moving forward, I would like to be able to pave as much as is approved, which I'm looking for approximately 80 feet. Just to be able to have, again, not the family just there that is there now, but in the future, the tenants that may have multiple vehicles.
And what's the distance from the alley to the back of the house?
It's a good question. It's gonna go from what here, approximately 110 feet or so.
Yeah, so saying, yeah, okay, so if you said 40 feet and somebody's parked there and they gotta walk 80 feet to with the groceries or something like that, that's kind of awkward as well.
During winter time, -10-degree weather. Yeah.
Any questions for our petitioner? All right, we're gonna deliberate and let you know, Jim.
I know we have a member of the public who is here who may wish to speak.
Thank you.
on this
Okay.
item.
If somebody additional wishes to speak on this item. Welcome, please give us your name and address.
My name is David Boyce, and I live at 123 South Quincy. I'm the owner of the property and the easement.
So David, do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth?
To the very best of my knowledge.
Go ahead.
Okay, so I would like to pass this around. This is my very best rendition because it's so difficult to figure out what's there from the city documents and, you know. So if there's any questions, I'd like to speak in terms of somebody proposed abandoning the easement or something like that, but there's no way that the easement can change from the way that the deed says, because for them to get in their property, they're always gonna be on my property. Because it's normal, you know, and another thing, the drainage situation is really irregular because, you know, I pay for the stormwater runoff, but in recent years, I've had to pump the water out of my property, which is up to 2.5 feet lower than where all the rest of the properties everywhere in the parking lot from Wellspring all drain into my property. So you can see that there's a little bit of a trough. So this used to belong to Greg Cromos, and he had that entire back just fully full of invasive species and right up to my property line. So I kept over the years with his permission, I kept trying to clear it up because my property looks so bad, and there's drug people with needles and everything in there. It never was, well, he had it, it was never used for thoroughfare. It was always blocked off with stuff, and we put the snow right in front of that first vehicle that you see. So originally the city gave a variance or a grant for $10,000 to convert that place into a single family. It used to be a 2-family where the front stairway came all the way to the front sidewalk. And it was a real mess, so we redid it and everything. So you can see to the right of the front porch, they were parking a vehicle on the front lawn for quite a while. And the yellow these yellow things depict worst case where they have up to 7 vehicles and motorcycle parked on the property so far. So then okay, so the other objection was from, 125 South Quincy, legal thing, at first, the notice was kind of ambiguous, it says something about concrete, something like that, and, I wasn't sure if that was, approval or denial of the concrete itself, but after, a long period of time, I realized that, it was for an addition to the permitted, length of, concrete. So this has been a real nightmare, as far as I'm concerned. Right here, there should have been green space, but there's no way, the grass don't grow there. I don't want a car parked in the front lawn, like the police said it was okay. Theoretically, there's room for 2 vehicles in the green space. So, a little bit of due diligence, when it's rented out, they have 7 cars parked there. They have a continuous maintenance thing where everybody's taking their car apart, there's quarter panels and all that stuff. So, anyhow, what I would like to do is see if if they do put the concrete, I'd like to have it tilted towards Wellspring, so I'm sure the Wellspring would allow them to build right up to the fence. And there'd be 2 feet on the side, a walkway, stone, or whatever. I'd like this to be the high point, this to be the low point. Ways down the alley, there's a storm sewer. Water may or may not get there, but as I speak now. The drainage, over the years, I've been putting mulch and stuff on his property, and when the current residents were in, I put some rugs in the deep mud holes and stuff like that, trying to come out a little bit. It just kind of got out of hand as far as I'm concerned, in my opinion. But if there's I oppose having a steady length of concrete there. I oppose the additional concrete. I'd like to have a barrier, like somewhere where they have maybe 4 cars, 2 cars immediately between the fence, 2 cars there, a barrier, and then they can shuffle in and out, and that would minimize all the disruptions and disturbances, and it'd be better for the winter time. And so it took me quite a while to realize that the only variance item was the additional, was that 20 feet? Or I mean, you have like an authorization for 40, but then the difference between the 40 and the rest of it,
There's another 40.
okay, another 40. I oppose in my neighbor to the south opposes the additional concrete.
All right, thank you, sir. Any questions for this speaker?
So a couple questions for you here, sir.
Yeah,
Now, the use of they're putting to it, the car repair and all that, that's all beyond our right. There's nothing we can do, sir.
I understand.
So to me, what I'm hearing here is the main concern is drainage, right?
Yes, because the high point, like the street in the alley, the high point is the back of their house.
Okay, so it drains towards the alley or towards that field.
It don't drain, as I speak, it don't drain toward the alley. It just kind of festers
Okay,
in a rut. You can see that on the.
and you want them to tilt it so that it comes down towards the alley and angles towards the wellspring.
And now another point I want to make is, that's my fence. I've got 6 inches on their side of the fence that blocks me, and you can just barely see that there's a berm that I put with mulch from the recycling from the and the berm is about this high. So for my property, what point on my property is 2.5 feet below all the other properties. So with the way it is, with that little bit of a berm, the water is sunk in, so I've been spreading the mulch kind of stuff so that, there was so they didn't sink in mud.
Mhm.
So I was under the illusion that the people that live there owned it. For a while, and I asked them, if it's okay to, sprinkle some stuff on there, and toward the end of the alley, there's a whole lot of purple blue stripe and stuff, invasive species that were growing. And after a while, because I built it up a little bit by the wellspring fence, it somehow terrific overgrowth kind of died off. Like I had a great big hay mow
Mhm.
along the stuff on the curb that I cleared off myself, because the previous owner didn't figure the property. He had vines about this thick coming up near the house.
Sure.
Everything, so that's pretty much where I stand. I'm really afraid, like one time they drove their car through my property and sunk in
Mhm.
the water. I mean, there's this much water
Mhm.
and it sat there for like 3 days. I don't think that'll happen again, but it's real hard to see the drop off there. Just toward the right, well, you can see the beginning of my parking pad in the back. There used to be garage there. And then when they built this in 1920s, they had all houses built close together.
Mhm.
But they're just packed together, and then somewhere along the line, somebody sold off most of their property to the business.
Mhm.
So,
And we're
Okay.
gonna bring it back here a little bit. We're going a little farther afield. Any other questions for this speaker here? Thank you.
I would like to just say something.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, we can have a petitioner. Yeah, yes.
I just wanted to say that, both, if approved, I know he said that there is that they can't do anything about, having them going through the front where they both share that, that space to come into the cars. With my tenants, I am very, very, very explicit as far as like, the lease and everything that they have to do. So I assure you that they would respect that if I was to change that on the agreement. When I did run the property out to them, I was very explicit in letting them know, as an example, that no one can ever be parked there
Mhm.
because you're blocking the neighbor. So they have been very good with that. They've respected that as well. So, if that, I just wanted to make that into consideration. That if need be, I would be able to amend the lease based on a decision if they no longer can enter through here, to let them know that they would have to come in through the alley and be able to do that. So,
Great, thank you.
you're welcome. Thank you.
All right. Anybody else to present evidence here? All right, let's deliberate. Thoughts?
I'm mostly concerned about the drainage.
Yeah.
I'm not hearing a plan to mitigate the drainage. I think tilting it towards, towards Wellspring is either gonna get Wellspring involved or it's uphill and it's not gonna actually help. I don't, if this is kind of out of our remit, but it seems to be an issue. I'd like to ask John a little bit.
Yeah, let's ask John about like the typical process
Yeah,
as it relates to drainage.
So normally we're talking about a driveway. While the code states you can't usually make harm on your neighbor, it normally isn't an issue because
Right.
people have space and it's just, it's not gonna be a problem. This is a different situation here. So what you see here as far as a plan,
Mhm.
well, this is fine for us in discussing with the mayor, since it's not gonna be a approved site plan, this right here. So when talking with the applicant on this, it's
Mhm.
noted that in the staff report, they'd have to have a plan with the contractor as to how you would address mitigation with the stormwater on this property.
Mhm.
Now, the initial brainstorming we did as staff is, there's 1 of 3 ways that we don't prove it, but we thought might work.
Mhm.
One, sheathing that water, if you put the driveway directly on the property line, you had 2 more feet. You put a slight pitch to have that water go down, it ends up infiltrating into that 2-foot grass strip. As far as water running off. 2, drain tiles. You do that in the country a lot, you might do it here as well. 3, if you get that extra 3 feet of, 2 feet of space, maybe you could put in a tiny swale. That could drain water off, a swale where the water would direct its
Oh,
way.
Like a channel.
Yeah, a channel, yes, yeah. Now, keep in mind, as the neighbor had mentioned with this, there is no true point where things just go downhill. I can state his property is lower than what they have, but it would appear as though, and we're talking a matter of inches over the course of 200 feet or so. It looks like it goes draining down towards the west, towards Quincy when you're out there, but I would imagine the water just stays on that property. It's a very flat piece of land. And so, it is a challenge, whether it be 40 feet or 80 feet in this property to deal with that water on this, but they have to do the best they could as far as trying to figure out a solution with the contractor. Whether you approve this or not, in a site plan to say, this is how we'll take on the water issue on this property.
John, with the water, with the, even the way the property is right now, water still is probably draining that way, correct? I mean, what's gonna be different if part of it is?
The difference with this is you're now taking a hard surface,
Because it's
which can
not-
take that water and really run it off at a decent pitch compared to it being. Compared to it now, even though I would suggest the combination of part gravel, part dirt is still pretty impervious.
Okay.
At least it gets in there a bit compared to it's a hard surface, it's gonna run out somewhere.
So
It doesn't slow it down.
would a solution like hexagrids be allowable or even a good idea in this situation?
Potentially, if they can't find a solution, with a contractor to take care of the water that meets what staff feels appropriate for the water, yes, 'cause that might be, say, an option to
Okay,
consider.
all right. So there's nothing in the code that said they couldn't do like a hexagrid or something?
No, you can. You
Okay,
can.
all right, all right.
All right.
It's
so-
a hard surface and we allow that. We've had it in other situations where people
Yeah.
have asked for that as a use for a pavement. We've allowed that as long as you bring forth sufficient materials that can handle the capacity for vehicular traffic. Yeah, we allow that to work that way.
So it seems like we've established that should we grant some form of variance here, that we can trust that staff working with the party will make sure that the runoff is managed as best as possible.
Right.
Given the circumstances. So let's move back to the tests and see if we are in a position to favorably consider this request or not. I will note, I think exceptional circumstances pretty easy on this
Covered,
one.
yeah.
That's a very strange lot, and it's gonna require, some creative thinking to make it work.
I would also think that preservation intent is also covered simply because, this isn't an intent to stretch regulations for no particular reason. It's an intent to stretch regulations because of the shape of the lot.
Likewise for preservation of rights.
Of rights to.
I think our last discussion about water mitigation addresses the absence of detriment piece that any final site plan is going to address those water concerns.
So I would, but this is maybe a point we should talk about a little bit. By code, they're allowed 2 parking spaces. And here we're gonna allow them 4 for a 4-bedroom. Are we at a point where we're accommodating this because it's financially better for the owner? For us to do that? Because there has been, community concerns raised around, having that many cars there and the ability to park that many cars there as well as,
Can I say something? With having that many cars, I did ask, the tenant about that, because he had that conversation with me, the neighbor. She said it was a get together that they had on a Sunday. She said it was family members that came and visited her.
we have to think down the road though, not just your current tenants and not just your own ownership.
Right, yeah, and like I said, it is a 4-bedroom. I feel like if it was a 1-bedroom or a 2-bedroom, but, thank you.
So, to your point, though, they could still park the car. Well, I guess they couldn't if it was grass, right? They
Well, I
couldn't
mean,
if it was grass.
that becomes an enforcement issue then, right?
Enforcement issue.
And I mean, you just have to assume that enforcement happens, I can't,
That's why there couldn't be 7 cars parked there because
Right.
this street
Right.
completed it.
So the question is the smart way to go to allow two car parking, which would probably mitigate most of the concerns around, the number of cars and the drainage. Or to approve it as asked, which still leaves us with those other two issues. I'm just throwing this out there. I don't feel strongly either way. I just think it's something to consider.
Yeah, I would consider it, if I were in the property shoes, that I would, be inclined to then still take advantage of that easement and park right behind the house.
Yeah.
Even if I didn't have, really adequate parking facility there, if I didn't have the stack. I also think that it's just the narrowness of that in that long run, parking at the alley, right off the alley, and then walking the length of your backyard to get into the back of the house seems a little awkward. And most of the times when we're looking at 2 covered parking spaces, we're often looking at 2 covered parking spaces with 2
With
stacking
yeah.
spaces in front of it, so
Yeah,
we
I-
are typically looking at 4
We are.
parking spaces. This is the minimum, the 2 is really kind of a minimum, not necessarily a cap or threshold, I think. I think that, I think this request meets the tests. I guess from my perspective, I did like when the petitioner was saying, maybe they shift the whole the driveway to the north, and so to have a 2-foot strip between that and the southern property to the south to maybe do some of this. Some of the things John said are encouraging, I think, in terms of the ways that they might manage some of that stormwater. And there's a lot of, for multiple properties to have parking lots, especially the adjacent property at the corner, and no stormwater management for any of those,
Yeah.
or in the alley, is maybe a logistical challenge for the city in general, but beyond the scope, I think, for us right here to consider.
Yeah.
But I do see the test, I think, being met for some action by this body in terms of the request. So I would entertain a motion unless we've got more talking to do.
I'll make the motion based, for the reasons, previously discussed to approve the variance request, subject to these site plan requirements for water mitigation.
I'll second that.
Okay, we got a motion and a second to approve the request, subject to somebody on staff working some magic, working with the property owner to deal with the stormwater runoff. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
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 Aye, opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, that's your request.
Thank you.
Item number 3, appeal 24-23, consideration with possible action on a variance request from Zena Cooper, property owner, and Stephen Vita of Veriker, the applicant requesting to exceed rear yard setback standards and exceed standards for placement of a primary entrance to a single-family detached dwelling located at 3576 Van Lannen Road. Are our petitioners here or online? You guys join us up at the table. By the little pad over there, if you will.
That's okay.
Maybe feel free to split it between yourselves and move it an inch or 2 further away so it doesn't just look up on. Not the most flattering view. All right, before we begin with you, we'll start with staff again. And of course, before that even, I'm going to ask all of our members about conflicts of interest. To ensure fairness, I just want to hear whether or not you have conflicts in this matter. So please, if you can, confirm the following. I do not have a conflict of interest in this matter.
I confirm.
I confirm.
I confirm.
I confirm. I have not received any communication from any person or party about this matter.
I confirm.
I confirm.
I confirm.
As do I. John, do you swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give will be the truth?
I do.
All right, please proceed.
So on this issue, we have 2 different variance requests that we're looking at. One is 44-554 lot dimensions and building bulk requirements. Table 44-2, the minimum rear yard setback is 25 feet. They're looking to place a building addition to an existing home at approximately 7.8 feet from the rear yard lot line. And then 44-1580 paragraph A, residential uses, single family detached dwelling in all residential districts. The primary entrance shall be located along the facade front of a public street. So they are looking to place it to the side yard to the east rather than the north, which is Van Landen. So this is a property, it's located along the bay. This is Van Landen, and this is Nicolay Drive. So, you'll see this this is the house itself. This is a detached garage, and right adjacent, this is a large detached garage for this property. This is a different property over this way. This is what it looks like. So this is the primary home. They are looking to put a building attachment over here. This is the detached garage in the parcel, and then that's how close it gets to the neighboring property with the other building next door. So we'll note this building itself used to be part of, it's all parcel between one large contiguous parcel. There used to be a cottage that would face out towards Nicolay, and then back around 1978 or so, this was split into a CSM to allow for a second lot. And with that, this corner lot, technically speaking, became a property that faces Van Landen. So in the past, when this was originally built, that could face out back towards Nicolay and be a corner lot and have a front facing on either side of the road. And that becomes, if this is a front, this becomes a side yard. Because this was sold off about 45 years ago to become a different parcel, which you can see the house this way. That changed to where there's now a house right here as well. So what the petitioners are looking to do is, this is the existing home right here, looking to add on this addition. So you can see that here, this is the primary building, adding on the addition. The existing front door faces off to the east or the side yard. They're trying to add on the space here to where the existing house is about 3 feet or so from the southern property line. They're looking to make this setback here approximately 7 foot 8 inches off of the southern property line. That's their rear property line based off of how the road faces the house itself. So with that in mind, if you're making any new additions to the home, it had to be 25 feet from the rear setback. So that would mean that 25 minus the 7 foot 8 inches, this should really be moved up about 17 feet or so to be in alignment with where this would be with the code. Additionally, then that would leave the front of the house to be lined up with where the existing front of the house is at. That'd be how far any expansion can happen on this property. The relief they're requesting is to place this down, 7 foot 8 inches or so from the property line. In addition, so as noted, the existing front door faces out towards the side. They're looking to replicate that with the existing front door to face out towards the side. The code would state that you're making a new addition to the house. That means that the front door has to face the public right of way. The public right of way is Van Landen, it's not Nicolay. It was in the past, but it's not now. So it's those two issues that come into play here for the applicant.
Questions for staff?
Let's do that rear setback.
Yep, so your rear setback itself, because this is a rear lot, is 25 feet for a primary building.
And currently, what is?
Currently 3 feet. They're 3 feet off the primary.
So it already isn't.
It already is, correct. Yeah, yep, it already is.
Because that's the way it was built.
Yep, so,
So now this will be a little further, but
right. The overall property itself is 54.2 feet in depth. So if you take up 54 minus 25, that gives you 29 feet. Then you have your front yard setback, which is approximately 15 feet. It leaves you with an area for livable space around 15 feet or so. That's what you can do for any sort of additions.
so exceptional. Okay.
Other questions for staff?
Where that lot switched and that was a. Forgive me for being inartful here, but if we were looking at the house as a side yard setback, what would that setback look like there?
The setback, if that had not been there, with it being a narrow lot, would have that be at 6 feet. So the building itself would still be not in conformance, but the addition would be conforming if it was a side yard.
Other questions for staff? All right, let's hear from our petitioners. Zena and Stephen,
Zion, yeah,
Zina, I'm sorry.
that's fine.
My name- I have lots of
My name is Jim
opportunity.
Wolf. I'm here in lieu of Steve Beattie.
Okay.
Rebecca.
You're with Rebecca?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, and each of you, do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth?
I do.
Go ahead, tell us why you need this, these variances.
The addition, we looked at many different avenues. We're working with, Mr. Hirsch, sorry, the builder. We looked at going up. The structure was not built in the intention to have a second story, it's a slab. So the foundation isn't there, so that avenue we weren't able to go up. The addition was, is to accommodate taking care of an elderly family member that is, walker bound. At some point will be wheelchair bound. That is one of the reasons why the front door is in line with where the door is now for functionality purposes. So, that's why we tried to center everything, so there's a hallway, bedroom, and the bathrooms were on opposite sides. To accommodate, the functionality and the safety of the structure. So we're not looking to do any public harm. In the means of, we're not reducing the side yard or the rear yard that's already existing. We're trying to minimize that impact as much as possible. But retain that safety and functionality in the scenario that we have. Again, John did a really good job with the history of the property being where the front door was originally. And in the plans, the structures would do some more major refinements to put a door off on the north side. Or completely rearrange the layout of the addition. The water side, we looked at the water side, there's a sanitary sewer main that runs through there with setbacks. There is the shoreline setbacks, and that just, there's just so much going on that side there, it just was not gonna happen. I think John did a really good job covering what the scenario is here. I'm not sure I have a whole lot to add, other than, it's a small home. We're looking to do half the size of the existing home for an addition. The existing is 864 square feet, and we're looking at doing a 480 square foot addition.
Questions for the petitioner?
Just to refresh my memory, where the front door is now is where the front door will be again.
Yes, just
Okay.
closer,
So it's
closer to
Did
the
it
ground.
Closer to the road.
And that
That's
will,
what I thought, I just
Yeah.
wanted to make sure.
that will also aid in transportation.
Yeah.
To, just getting to and from the vehicle.
Can you put the picture up again?
I'm trying to zoom in that for you on this.
Okay, so is that the garage, that little building?
Oh,
Or it looks, or is there are
Yes.
there two houses on the same lot?
No, it's the second one's a garage in the permanent shadow of the garage next door.
I'll take up this. This is a small garage.
Yeah, there's, I think, less than a
Two
foot.
garages, like-
There's about 2.5 feet between them.
I get it now. I was trying to figure out how you got your property. Okay. No, I get it. Thank you.
Yeah, I think both. I don't know if John knows this, when those were built, like. the
I do
garages.
not know. They are clearly not conforming.
I was shocked, yeah, I was shocked as well how close they are,
Well, it just makes a lot more sense,
Yeah.
but that's,
I'm glad you asked, I was wondering that. too.
Oh, good. Got it. All right.
Super. Other questions? Right, thank you, we'll deliberate.
Thanks.
Yeah. But I'll take the first crack here. I don't think that either of the variances requested are inconsistent with the spirit, purpose, and intent of the regulations of the district. I mean, what's being requested here is basically consistent with the way this lot has been for 80 years or however, however long that structure's existed. I guess that rolls right into the exceptional circumstances. I think this is an unusual or unique lot in that once upon a time it was a Nicolay Drive address, and now it's a Van Lavin Road address. Driveways, the driveway faces Van Lavin Road. I don't think it's practical or feasible to change the direction of the front door to face Van Lavin Road at this point. For my purposes, I think that the setback piece here is looking at an impractical look at the way this lot was developed. I mean, the lot was developed with sort of an east and west orientation, and everything is being developed consistent with that. And that's why I asked the question about what the setback would have been if we looked at that as more of a side yard versus a rear yard setback. It's perfectly set back if we were to look at it from that lens. So I think that it's a unique lot. This preserves property rights, allows for some degree of development and advancement on the lot. That's consistent with the way this building was originally developed. I can't see any detriment to adjacent property. Frankly, the garages on top of each other would be more of a detriment in my mind. But, I don't see any detriment to adjacent property owners, and certainly this is a self-imposed hardship here, and it's not there's no economic basis for the request. So for those reasons, I can see for both of the variances requested, each of the factors is met.
Would you like to accompany that finding with a motion?
I sure would, for all the reasons previously set forth.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Here we have a motion and a second to approve the request as presented. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
I,
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
And item number 4, appeal 24-24. Consideration with possible action on the variance request from Eric Gabrielson, property owner and applicant, seeking to exceed driveway standards for a 1 or 2 family residence at 875 Hubbard.
This is my partner Samantha Meister. She cohabitates the property with me.
Please join us. You know, in the interest of fairness, I just want to hear some of my confirms if you're able to on this matter. I do not have a conflict of interest in this matter.
I confirm.
I confirm.
I confirm.
I confirm. I have not received any communication from any party or person about this matter.
I confirm.
I confirm.
I confirm.
I confirm. Great. And then as with the other items, we'll hear from staff first. So John, do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth?
I do.
Please proceed.
All right, so we're looking at one variance request here, section 44-1756. Driveway shall lead from the public right of way to a garage door opening plus 24 inches on either side of the said door or to a legal parking surface. They're seeking only relief to allow for the drive to be 10 feet off the garage door, to have parking alongside existing driveway in the front yard. So some background on the property, that star sheet right here, goes over is the corner lot itself. What you're gonna see here is Woodlawn, and Woodlawn is under construction. And with that, there was a non-conforming driveway that came off the property that didn't have an actual curb cut that you could hop the curb and go back this way. But Public Works ain't gonna happen anymore. Let's go away. So with that said, on the property, they have a single stall garage and a single stall in front of it for the detached garage. So what they are looking to do is to do a driveway, stall that would go about 8 feet from the existing driveway or 10 feet from the garage door itself. To have parking in the front yard. Now, let's recall this is a detached garage. We do have the attached single stall garages where you can have the one space in the front yard. That's for attached garages only. This is a detached garage. So with that said, this driveway space has to, if it's gonna be code, go lead to a parking stall alongside of the driveway itself. They are looking for relief to stop it in front of the in front of the garage. And just have the 15-foot, which is because of how the overhang would work, legal stall. Or a legal driving length for a stall, but a 15 by 8 foot wide proposed hardscape area on this property that would allow for one more parking stall to happen in the front yard. Can't have parking in the front yard, has to lead to a legal parking stall. This is not leading to a legal parking stall because it's not going to a stall into the center of the property itself. They provided some information as far as what they like to do. Stephen, this goes back to what you were discussing here with the property over on Quincy. They're looking to put in some pavers that would allow for the grass to go up through the pavers themselves. And this turf stone paver, I'm looking at it and meeting as far as what has to be done for asserting that the vehicle that's parked in there would not harm said paver, but as long as it does, which we felt we looked at this paver here with other projects, it should be fine. So they're not going to put in necessarily a concrete or asphalt paver, they're looking to put in these turf stone pavers in that area. The 8 by 15 within that triangle taper that goes back off towards the apron itself. As noted, and I'll let the applicants talk about the extent of it, but they did feel they had some issues here with the trees in the back. But yeah, the solution to this is to have either if the garage were expanded, now you have more because you're leading to a legal parking stall. Or if you put the parking stall alongside the garage, that's legal parking stall, but it can't just be out in front of a garage itself. So the way we're looking at this is that they're asking to have relief to allow it to be not just 2 feet past the garage door, but 10 feet past the garage door on this parcel.
But would we fit alongside legal? I mean, from,
Right, if you're seeing right here, you could, in theory, so you have your triangle taper and they want to have it be in this area in front of the garage or in front of that plane of the garage. If you happen to have that parking stall go past the garage door 15 feet, then it'd be a legal stall, yes, because now that would act as a driveway leading to a legal parking stall. So that'd be allowed, but you can't have it be where it stops short of the garage, because now it's a parking, you're putting parking in the front yard, which isn't allowed to happen.
well, that seems like a solution. Okay, thank you.
Can we see the area again?
Yep.
No way, there's no good way to see on that because of the tree.
Because of the tree.
Yeah, it's,
It's a 90-foot tall, 100-year-old Norway.
Yeah.
but you wouldn't have to take that down.
No, the suggestion here is to not take the tree down, to stop it. And that if you were to do a legal parking stall, it may actually impact the tree.
If
To
you go
react,
15 feet,
yes.
it would impact the tree.
because of roots and how close you get to the tree itself.
I can
That's-
speak more to that.
Well, you could, but
Yeah.
that's the concern then.
That's the applicant stated it as being the concern, yes.
Yeah.
Other questions for staff? All right, let's go to the petitioner and if you, I'm sorry, I forgot your name.
Samantha.
Samantha, if you're going to speak to, please give us your name and address and also then attest with me here. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth?
I do.
Yep, and the name is Samantha Meister and I'm at 875 Hubbard.
Okay, go ahead.
So the tree issue, there is like I said, 90-foot tall, 100-year-old Norway maple there. Maples, as several arborists have assured us, bury their roots very close to the surface. And I've seen that just trying to put landscaping around the tree, you can't go into the ground. So the tree would have to come down to accommodate code. And have the little cutout approach back there to an extra space alongside the garage. The tree itself starts at probably about the 17-foot mark. So in order to get the 7.5 inches down for the substrate and the pavers, you would be disturbing the root system significantly. This is obviously old imagery, but that terrace tree in front was recently taken by the city as a result of the Woodlawn reconstruction. And while I understand why they had to do it, there's like no shade on that portion of the lot anymore. So really not looking forward to additional trees coming down. When I purchased the house, I purchased it in the middle of winter 16 years ago, didn't know about the bonus driveway as we refer to it now. Understand it's not in compliance, was looking at a potential variance there. However, there not being an existing cutout and it being so close to the corner, it wouldn't comply with code anyway. And understanding that that setback rule is very important, especially to the reconstruction, opted for the request for the extra space in front of the garage there. Also, the paver material being used would result in a net loss of concrete as that entire bonus driveway will be removed. So,
Back to grass.
yeah, put back to grass. So we are trying to respect the rules as far as runoff and preservation of our property rights go.
Can any of it be next to the garage? I mean, is there how many feet?
So there is an existing sidewalk that goes from the service door to the back of the house. That would need to be cut out to extend the pavers. It could go a little bit along the side.
I mean, how many feet?
Oh,
Let me see.
maybe 5. Of the required 15, correct?
You need to have 15 feet past that front, that eastern plane of the garage, because that gives you then your legal parking stall with a 1.5 foot overhang.
I think we get that. I think what, if I can put words in your mouth, what you're trying to ask is how far up the side of the garage can we go before we start really damaging the roots?
Probably
Right.
5 feet.
Probably about 5 feet.
Yeah,
We could look at something like that.
yeah.
Other presentation or are you ready for questions?
Just additionally, the other concern with, in the event that that tree did go away, everyone we've talked to is that it wouldn't be able to have much of a weight bearing anything on it because of the massive like die off of that root structure on the tree, even after grounding out a stump, even after that. We've been told by the arborists, that essentially it would be a die off that wouldn't get, if we were to extend a pad or pour a new garage or any of those things
Potentially
on top of it,
years.
that
Yeah.
it wouldn't support a stable,
Mm.
surface there for a number of years.
It sounds like your arborist has never heard of a backhoe, but all right.
The property lines there get all fun too, so.
Well, I hear you.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a 100-year-old tree, the chances it's gonna die off tomorrow, I think are pretty slim. Yeah.
Other questions for the petitioners?
Is the garage usable?
Yeah, we actually have 3 cars right now. The little Sonic there is mine. It's currently parked in the garage. We have a 17-year-old daughter. That vehicle is parked in the bonus driveway, and then Samantha's SUV is parked in the approach to the garage.
Any others? All right, thank you. We'll deliberate.
Thank you.
Yeah, please. Yeah, I'm sorry, I shouldn't even stay. Could have questions.
Yeah, the thing that sticks with me here is we never allow this.
Yep.
We just don't allow this because too many people want to build a pad next to their driveway to store their boat.
We're not both.
I know.
Okay.
I know.
I understand this is going into the future too. so
That being said, I also, I don't want to see a 100-year-old tree cut down.
Yeah.
And preservation of property rights.
Yeah,
And that's kind of where the hardship piece comes in my opinion, is
Yeah.
with
You
the
know-
reconstruction of Woodlawn, taking away that totally
I
not
get
compliant.
that. I get that. I guess the thing that is the real problem here is you don't have a right to have three cars. That you can park on your property.
I understand.
That's really the problem here, and that's usually where we end up getting stuck on these.
I'm sorry, what was that, Stephen?
You have a right to have three cars and have parking spots for all three. You know, that's voluntary.
Yeah.
That's something.
I'm sensitive to the fact that the city's own project is what necessitated the variance request.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I
That's
certainly,
the-
from my
that's the-
perspective, that's the exceptional circumstance here, is that you had kind of a.
That is a good
You
point.
had that extra spot, it seemed well established, given the lay of it. But now that's gone with the reconstruction of the terrace, I imagine, and so. For me, that gets us to the exceptional circumstance. I'm curious about Barb's thought here of do we force it as deep back as we can, maybe 5 feet back along the side? It's not maybe optimal, but it preserves our intent not to kind of just like let folks willy-nilly park in front yards. And you know, keeps that tree, which seems to be shading about half that block.
The entire rear half of the house.
Yeah.
So.
And it keeps us consistent somewhat.
Yeah.
With what we, because if we don't say yes to this.
I understand.
We have a little bit of wiggle room here.
You think 5 feet would be a danger to the tree?
Whether it is or not, if they can't go 5 feet, I don't know what I would say here.
Wow.
We can compromise with 5 feet. Obviously, we want to make this work and be as,
Yeah.
you know, in line as we can.
Someone just mentioned the front yard setback, but where's your front door? of this property?
It's on.
On Hubbard.
So
This is a backyard.
we understand that it's treated as it is street facing, obviously, but.
It's not the front door. it's not the front door.
I think that's helpful.
You got, staff, do you have a comment?
What you're, as far as you putting in a condition, it's perfectly acceptable to do that. So what you feel is appropriate on this to mitigate the idea of not just say giving away a variance, but taking into account what is necessary for what you reaches the need to have a variance. Giving an appropriate number that would be essentially the maximum allowable that you could take without going overboard. So if you felt 5 foot's that number, so be it.
I'm in with 5.
I think so too. I mean, normally I'm against all the expansions, but, well, that's because so many people do it wrong, but, in
It's a
this
slippery
particular case, I actually do think this is an odd circumstance.
Does 5 feet take you to roughly the backside of that access sidewalk?
Ooh, that's a.
John?
Yeah,
It would, I believe, I don't know if there's an overhead that would show that,
I don't think,
or
well,
if the tree just obstructs it too much.
and that's all the time.
Yeah,
Over the
all
years, yeah,
Yeah.
I haven't seen it in 2017 or 2014.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's just-
it's a big leafed out tree. I mean, we would be going over the sidewalk, we would have
Yeah, go
to
beyond.
cut out. a
Would go
hunk of it.
beyond.
It
Yeah.
would be-
5, oh, it's
Yeah,
not 5 feet.
It, yeah, it's
Is
The
it right?
service door is maybe 3 feet
from where we were
facade
planning
of
on
the
ending.
garage.
It is, yeah.
I could live with 3 feet.
Oh, you would.
Yeah.
Like have it
I
up
mean,
to the. sidewalk.
in some ways, we're just rubbing our own consciousnesses by
Yeah.
saying, hey, you can push something across.
So up to the, because then it's still even extended. because
Yeah.
There's that.
Okay, go up to the
There doesn't have to be a little space between, right, staff, between a little sidewalk, it's not a real sidewalk, it's a.
Oh, gotcha. Well, no, it's your call on this as far as I went.
Yeah.
So no, I hear you're saying on that because of normally extension, but you're granting that with this, so we're fine.
All right.
Yep.
Then I would like to move.
Just one thought before you start that
Yes.
process, I would also say if we're gonna go 3 feet. Back alongside the garage with this, that we move the base of the slope. To the additional space, 3 feet off.
I would appreciate
Oh.
that.
Especially drawn as well, right?
Are we suggesting
Or does it have to go right?
this
from-
right here?
Can that
Move
start
that.
3 feet back as well?
I would prefer that.
So it's not coming off the sidewalk itself. It's not-
Understood, this minimum here, this, if there's an X that goes from this point back to the sidewalk, has to be 5 feet. So you're suggesting making that 8 feet?
That's good, right?
It's, either way, we're getting 15 feet, which is what you need to have for
Right,
Okay,
the length then of a
okay,
parking stall that is not obstructed.
So 15 feet abutting the private sidewalk out to that,
and then.
To where the
to that paper, that triangle. paper.
Yeah, okay. So moving it back wouldn't, that's up to you.
No, that's totally fine.
yeah.
Is that acceptable to?
Yeah.
all? Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree.
Make the motion.
So I will move to grant the variance for the reasons that we have already discussed regarding saying yes to all of the conditions. Unless you need more clear yeses. Sometimes the attorneys need more clear yeses.
No, we found that.
We'll go down a bit.
Definitely works.
Okay, this is good.
Is there a second? That's a good motion. Is there
I
a
second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carried.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
With
I see a vote on it.
Celebrate this one. okay?
Yeah.
You know what the sad part is, there are concrete guys will come around and tell you, oh, it's fine, we can get a permit for that. And then-
Yeah.
Then they pour it, then they come to us and we make it turn
The
out.
reason we wanted to do this the right way is we recently had a neighbor who's been asking for forgiveness instead of permission, so.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And thank you, John, I appreciate your work.
Great. Thank you all. The date of our next meeting is August 19th. And we also have a report on Board of Appeals items for the first half of 2024.
Keep it quick.
Right now?
Yeah, we'll give you the first half stats. So overall, 20 items were considered in front of this board. 75% hit rate, so 15 approvals, 5 denials. The multiple requests that we keep on getting, drive-through window in the front, driveway setback questions, and placement of primary structures alongside yard setback. So we saw 2 of them today. Beyond that, the other questions that were asked were all individual one-offs, but we get the driveway question just about a month now, and we get a setback question also every month, so.
I love that we're tracking those.
Well, and I think you guys have really come down with all the work you've been doing with the applicants as compared to prior.
Yes.
To you joining, the city, we did a lot more. We did a lot more having to do all the discovery here. You guys are getting people to solutions before ever coming to us. So
That's
thank
the
you very
goal.
much.
What I tell everybody is there might have to be a variance based on what their intention is. But we could try to find solutions in the code to make
Yeah.
it work for them. That doesn't require a variance, so,
I'm
And then
very
they
happy to
gotta
have
prove
you
it.
find a
Yeah.
solution.
yeah.
And it's really been nice to have the attorneys around. It's been
No one's ever said that out loud.
I'm gonna make them cry.
suggest you do so well on your own that we don't need to come to every meeting.
Well, we're starting to do that. You
You're
know,
doing much,
I-
you're great, you're doing great, so. don't-
Yeah, because I mean, we've changed and we're doing it, we've learned. It's been great.
By the way, no, you're very efficient and the fact that we got out
We are so
after 6.
Yeah.
Just, yeah.
Crazy.
So just to wrap up this
Well
report, these do work for every individual older district, and you'll note that there's typically speaking more in central city compared to
Yeah.
what you would
Yes.
see out
Yes.
in the fringe. And that's how it probably should be. There should be more issues like we just saw here with Hubbard on lots that are 120 years old compared to lots that are 20 years old. Yep, that was the first half, and hopefully we keep it less than 20 in the second half. Try to. That's all I got.
All right, we have no public hearings today. Just a reminder that we did get a new assignment. Barb missed this at the last meeting, but I don't remember exactly how to characterize it, but we'll talk all about it more the first time we have one. But we're going to be handling other appeals than just zoning appeals as they come up. Like
Wow.
people contesting orders or something like that.
Yeah, compliance to ordinance.
Did we get a raise then?
Yeah, they're gonna
Double
double
it.
it.
So that ordinance is actually will be on for second reading and final at the next council meeting, which is chapter 8.
Yeah.
Building code.
Oh, to watch
So-
that.
You could see here as soon as August, but Logan will present then as far as what it means.
Yeah.
For that, and Nona, you wanted to know as far as like where we place on an agenda. I think those will probably go first because
Yeah,
probably will have other staff who'll be here and they'll just take care of it.
And do we have to, it's the same thing where we do all those tests.
No, this would be
There'll be a
different,
different set of things, but
Does Noel get a different, a new script for that portion then when it comes around?
potentially.
It sounded a lot like it was basically, you know,
The conflicts portion is all still the same.
Right.
Right.
I think it was mostly about, the code is, but the way she explained it was, you look at the code and did this comply? It was more of an up, down, but that's just the way I understood it.
Where did those used to go?
Section of policy.
Oh,
There haven't been a lot of them. There haven't been a lot of them. So the change with chapter 8 is the reinspection fees are going to finance now. If this ordinance is adopted, and then the building code, to the extent there's an appeal for an order, it will be here.
that's great.
so maybe half a dozen a year or something.
There hasn't been a lot, no, not to date. But they need to be handled in a proceeding like this, and oftentimes, like, yeah,
Actually judicial work.
yeah.
All right, I think that's it for business. I
Thank you so
entertain a
much.
motion to adjourn.
We'll return.
A second.
All those in favor say bye.
Bye.
Bye.